A summit that returns Washington back to the international fold on climate as the United States president pledged to slash the country's greenhouse gas emissions by at least 50% by 2030.
This is the decade we must make decisions that will avoid the worst consequences of the climate crisis.
President Ramaphosa called the climate challenge the most pressing issue of our time, leaving developing economies particularly vulnerable.
We need to work together to create a climate-resilient society, and amongst other things, we should firstly ensure that as we transit to a more climate-resilient future, it must be based on a just transition.
China, the world's largest emitter, affirmed its pledge to reach carbon neutrality by 2060.
We need to give full recognition to developing countries' contribution to climate action and accommodate their particular difficulties and concerns.
Russia's leader pointed to the need to not merely mitigate, but to reduce carbon dioxide that is already stuck in the Earth's atmosphere.
Russia makes a gigantic contribution to absorbing global emissions, both ours and from elsewhere, owing to the great absorption capacities of our ecosystems.
Canada, Japan and the European Union vowed to cut emissions from between 40% at the low end and 55% at the upper end by 2030, in what some refer to as a make-or-break decade.
We must put a price on carbon, shifting taxation from income to carbon, and subsidies for fossil fuels, ramp up investments in renewable energy and green infrastructure, stop the financing of coal and the building of new coal power plants, and phase out coal by 2030 in the wealthiest countries and by 2040 everywhere else.
A reinvigorated effort towards meeting the goals set out in the Paris Climate Change Accord, also known as humanity's life insurance policy. Sherwin Briceby's SABC News, New York.